And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Fight and Fit Show. How you doing, guys? How you both doing today? Are you good? On a scale of 1 to 10, how is everybody feeling?
9.5. Pretty good.
I'm at least a 7. I missed workout today, so I am beating myself up about that.
Shite bike. In
Yeah,
the new year, 60 days in the
I
new
know.
year.
I'll make up for it this evening. I'll make up for after work.
Can you make up
All
for
you
it?
can do is get back on the horse.
What would your
Exactly.
mom say about making up for it? You can't make up for it. It's gone. The opportunity's gone. You can only do what you could have done anyway.
Yeah.
So there you
That's
go.
Now you can only make the best of the situation going forward. On that, because I was in a similar situation, got off first couple of days of the new year, killed it, then I got sick, and then today's my first workout in about 10 days. One of the kind of key principles, and somebody else, it was Peter Attia, actually on his podcast with BioLane, he recently mentioned this as well, was like, if you miss a workout, the most thing you do the next day is work out. If you have a bad meal, the most important thing to do the next day, or the most important meal, is the next meal. So it's always about trying to nip it in the bud as soon as possible, because even today to get that bit of a workout done, it wasn't even a great workout. Just the inertia, so hard to get going again. Once you lose momentum, it really is so difficult to get going again. But I feel like as a rule of thumb, that really helps you don't get into that position where you've just completely lost momentum. Like if you have missed a workout, like, you know, this whole thing we used to always say, like, miss a day, that's fine, shit happens, life gets in the way, just never miss 2 days in a row. And if you miss a workout, make sure you get back into the workout the next day. And or if you have a bad meal, try and make sure that the next meal would be then whatever you consider to be a healthy meal or on plan, on track. Does that make sense? What do you think of that?
I think it's really good. But I think I have another piece of advice for people who are trying to get back on track, and that is to lower the barrier to entry to a point where it seems like it's like challenging enough that it's worth doing, but easy enough that you're like, of course I can do that. Does that make sense? So show up. It's like you can do the easiest workout, the easiest version of whatever you want to do, but just show up to start building that momentum. If it's like, Joe, instead of overhauling your whole diet again, it's like, can you start drinking more water? Commit to 2 liters of water a day. Done. Easy. That's not hard, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're oriented in the right direction.
One of my favorite kind of thoughts on days off and all that kind of stuff is what Jocko Willink says is, it's like life gives you days off. So this is the kind of whole thing, like you miss a workout, and so it's like, you know, don't take days off. You like, ideally you build your schedule that there's something getting done like physically every single day. And like, again, the kids will get sick, you know, something will happen that you can't get to that workout. They're your days off. Your days off will be given to you. So if you're still in the frame of mind where it's kind of like, oh, this is a day on, this is a day off, this is a day on, you know, sometimes, especially if you're just starting out, it can be very, very hard to kind of keep the momentum going. Like you can have a long weekend and now just that's all your momentum gone. It's like, whereas, you know, actually really what you should do is you should schedule in a walk on Saturday or Sunday. You know, if you're a more advanced trainer, maybe that would be a jog, or maybe a heavy stretching session. You know, maybe one day it's weight training, one day it's cardio, whatever it is. But it's like, you should actually have something scheduled at all times every single day. And if you miss one, fair enough, don't beat yourself up, because you know there's another one coming around tomorrow. You know that there's another thing that I would say is kind of about the whole inertia thing, because I was something similar to yourself, Steve. I was actually absolutely on fire, just coming back from a good workout streak, and then I got sick, and then I can kind of feel immediately the wind taken out of my sails. But I'm set up in a situation like I literally have working out booked into my work calendar, like, so it's like there's no option. That again, I think I said that in the last podcast, is like taking your options away is the best advice that I have to anyone. It's like this should not be a choice. You know what should be a choice, and it should be entirely up to you. Every single session is your intensity. You should, like I would say, keep showing up to whatever circuit or whatever session you want, and give whatever intensity you feel like that day. But you should be obligated to show up. That's what I think, and I feel like you should also be very, very lenient initially, especially if you're just starting out and you're struggling with workouts, you're struggling with motivation. It's like, don't feel obliged to work hard at all. Just do something. And people severely underestimate how valuable it is doing any kind of movement. You know, it's like just keep getting that done. The compounding effect of that over the course of a year, like you'll have a completely different body, and then we can kind of get into the conversation about nutrition.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that's such a good. I think them two rules combined would mean that nobody would ever fall off track ever again if they live by them principles. One, you know, if you miss a day, that's fine. Just get back on the wagon ASAP. Never miss 2 days in a row as a rule of thumb. Never miss 2 days in a row, and then lower the barrier. I think because I do that a lot. Like you know, I'll just go for a walk. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not going to the gym, not feeling it. But I'll go for a walk, and I still feel pretty good. Listening to a podcast puts me in a really good headspace, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time. So I would.
And then the next day you want to work out as well.
Exactly, or usually it leaves you itching for work. I'm like, oh fuck, I probably could have done a workout there. You know, I probably could have went for a run, and then I'm a little bit more eager then to do it the next day. So I think that is very, very useful. Because even today my workout was even cut in half there because I forgot about the podcast. I was working away, kind of getting into the flow of things. I'd done a couple of kilometers in the treadmill and lifted a little bit of weights, and I want to do more. And I'm in that kind of mindset. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back out now this evening and do another half an hour. So yeah, no, I think that is great advice. Because as Pete suggested, kind of today's podcast is around a follow up on the first podcast we've done of the year, which was essentially about New Year's resolutions and how, you know, although we're only, into the third week of the new year now, this is kind of where most people tend to start falling off the wagon, let's say. So what advice would you have for anybody who feels like they've already failed? It's already, the worst dreams have already come true. The start of your great intentions like we had, and then, shit got in the way, whatever happened. And now they feel like they're starting from scratch again.
The thing that makes me most nervous about New Year's resolutions is even outside New Year's resolutions, as a coach, anytime I see anybody doing anything extreme ever, I get nervous. Is it because extremes, in my experience, this has come from somebody who used to do extremes, because it's kind of a novice mentality. It's what you do when you start it. You think that the best thing to do is to overhaul everything, and nothing makes me more nervous, because in my experience, and again, this with all the will in the world, it is 1% out of 100 of people who take on an extreme that manage to keep it up. So anytime anybody takes on anything extreme and they go down the overhaul route, it makes me extraordinarily nervous, because I just don't think it's it's not very sustainable or maintainable at all. And that's generally why most people have already failed, because they tried to overhaul their life instead of doing something small and sustainable. And that's not sexy. It's not a sexy sell. So what you should be doing is, if you're really struggling with your New Year's resolution, is, as we said already, lower the barrier to entry. If you want to build muscle, instead of chopping and changing everything, you should be 110% committed to eating one chicken fillet a day, to eating one protein shake a day, to doing 50 push-ups a day, to do, a habit. Instead of focusing on this is the goal, it's what's something small as a subsect of that goal. That's come at this with a mindset that I'm useless. What's about all I can manage, right? What's about all I can manage? What's the minimum barrier to entry that I genuinely know that I could do, and start there? So again, for me, I think it was, what age is Mason now? I think he was about 6 months old when I started this. So he's 3 as of Saturday. I think I should know that. So about 20 months ago, I started a habit of a protein shake a day. And I remember I was mixing Mason's bottle and my protein shake at the same time. And that was the habit. And so that was the habit. So we're going to make scoops together. We're going to scoop them in together. We're going to shake them together. And that's the habit. And that's the one big habit that I managed to maintain. That's gotten me, I would say, the bulk of my momentum in terms of nutrition. Because I know right well, if I get that shake in today, that's 50 grams of protein. That's a significant step forward for the least amount of effort. And so it's what is that habit that's going to work for you? Instead of trying to overhaul everything, it's what can you take on that's really small, really simple, and doesn't require an extraordinary level of willpower, but will also be a big vote in if we're coming back to identity, a big vote for identity, fitness identity. And that's kind of what we want to get. It's we want to get those votes in, and we want to make it very easy to vote in that direction.
I think it's also important to be aware of the task being too small that it's easy to dismiss. So, like, if it's drink a glass of water in the morning, I can leave it. Or if it's like meditate for 5 minutes, it's fine if I don't do that. Like silly stuff like that. There, if it's easy to dismiss and it doesn't have some sort of a weight where your ego is like, I did good today, it won't have the same sort of pull. But it should be something easy enough that you can do, that you would do. That's the most important part. If you can do it and you would do it, well then set your mind on that. If it's something that you can do but you don't really want to do, well then maybe pick something else.
Yeah, as Jim Rohn says, it's easy to do, it's easy not to do.
Exactly.
But so what do you go on? Sorry.
Sorry, just Jim Rohn used the example, an apple a day. It's like, why do most people not do it? It's easy not to do. That's why.
Yeah, but and then he also says, and it's just like paradigm shift, and I thought anyway, was like, what if it was that easy? I mean, what if it was that easy? Imagine it was. Imagine an apple a day really would keep the doctor away. Just getting some vitamins, minerals, fiber. Because a lot of this stuff is about let's say the greater impact and how because you take the protein shake, how does that impact your choices throughout the day? Like we kind of talk about like exercise. I feel like based on my observations over the years, like exercise is the keystone habit. That thing that when people exercise, they eat better, drink more water, sleep better, better routine, etc., etc. Kind of has this kind of outsized positive impact across other areas of their life. So what other keystone habits order do you guys feel that when people focus on them, when you see people doing these simple things, that it has outsized returns across other aspects of, let's say, living a healthy lifestyle, whatever that means for people or yourselves?
What are the key habits that build that?
Yeah, what do you feel like are those things, them small things that people tend to overlook? That
1, a walk, easy walk. 2, meditation, and 3, protein shake, post-workout protein shake. I feel like the workout, I think, would be like doing a workout. I feel like is harder than going for a walk, and doing a workout is harder than having a protein shake, and doing a workout is harder than meditating. So I think they're easy, but they will give you the biggest bang for the buck.
I actually don't agree. I think for an awful lot of people, I feel like the workout is the easy part for them, and I feel like everything else just now. Again, I don't obviously disagree with your point entirely. But I'm just saying I feel like there's some people who, again, because it's physically difficult, but again, it's not like they've kind of had it in a category where it's not really a choice. Like they can just do it automatically. It's like it doesn't carry that same weight behind it. That it's kind of like, it's massively significant of a sacrifice. But and so again, I do feel like it slips into that, again, small habit for them. It's like it is actually only a small piece, and people tend to try and, again, because of the physical effort, they kind of equate it to like a massive piece. It's like I would say, I would keep it in that category.
Yeah, well, I think you're right to some degree. It's definitely like there is a lot of people who would say that working out is the easy part, the nutrition is the hard part. But in terms of like, I just mean in terms of actual effort, actual exertion. I think the other ones are easier. Like meditation, you just sit there. Having a protein shake, you just have to drink a shake. Going for a walk, like if I was like, Stephen, you have to go for a 5K run or you have to go for a walk, what's easier? You'd be like, go for a walk.
Yeah. I spent a period of time doing that there recently, and it kind of really kept me on track before I went to Portugal. Was like, just because if I just have to have a stressful day and like I just couldn't face going for a run, I'd go for a walk, and it was so easy.
Yeah, and then you felt really good after it, right? You still felt like I did something, I built some momentum. Maybe I'll go for a run tomorrow. Maybe I'll go for a walk tomorrow. Who cares? As long as you're going out spending energy.
I feel like exactly like what you said earlier on. I feel like the hardest things for me to do, and from what I noticed the other people to do, are the things that are just far too easy to write off. That's kind of why I feel like the workout is the easy part. Because I feel like people are like, it's something obvious, and it feels like you're moving mountains to do it, but actually you're not. It's like I know people that worked out every day for a year, and again, like physically didn't get the goals that they wanted. Again, cardiovascular wise was probably the only thing they improved, and maybe lack of tolerance. Not even strength. Like I've seen people, it's like, and like for the effort that they put in, the return is minimal, because again, like you're not you're not giving your body the fuel to repair your bones and your tissues and that kind of stuff. So it's like realistically, like you're just plateauing. Like your strength is like you're doing well, because again, like you're staying in the same place. So it's not, you're not going in the opposite direction, but actual growth, really requires, as you said, Chris, all these little small things. It's like it's going for the walk, it's losing the weight, it's hitting the protein, it's hitting the calories, it's making sure you're getting your micros in. And those things are just so easy to overlook. It's like once you get a workout in, you kind of feel like, oh, I feel fantastic. It's like, it really, I feel like, again, this is kind of back to the David Goggins mentality. It's like all those little things that you're overlooking. It's like there is where 90% of your progress is to be made. It's like, and the only reason because you're overlooking them. It's like there's other people and they do them so simply and so easily. Like for some people, it is workouts. Like I know a couple of people, and their big thing that they're just not doing. Like they'll do nutrition out their ear, they'll do everything, but they avoid the workout. But I feel like for the vast majority of people, it's much easier to do the workouts than it is to organize and plan and structure and say no, and like with your nutrition and with, again, the walks and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think one of the reasons people do that is because it's like a little ego boost, and then allows them to say something like, at least I'm doing it. Do you get me? I'm doing the big thing that is going to affect it, which is like, it's good to get into that habit. But if you're just working out and you're not paying any attention to your nutrition, like it's still better not working out. But if you are looking to lose weight and you're still like eating too much, giving it to all the little treats, getting takeaways, all that sort of stuff, it's not going to help you much at all.
Well, here's what happens in your workouts if your nutrition isn't there, is that you end up getting beat down by the workouts and you feel like you could have less and less to give, or again, less and less to give until you get like an easier session, or a session that you're very strong at and your body doesn't take too much to adapt. That then you recover and you're going to give a good strong session. But it's just this big plateau period where it's like, I found that when your nutrition is dialed in, you show up to the next session with more to give. And there's no better feeling than showing up to the next workout, having done the extra work with more to give. And you're like, oh, yes, I can stick that extra 5 kilo on the bar. And if you're getting to the stage again where your workouts is like, and you're pushing the intensity and you're getting the green light from your coach, but you're literally like your numbers everywhere are staying the same. There's no progress. It's like, it's the little stuff. It could be a mobility issue. Maybe it's a mind-muscle connection issue, but it's most likely probably a nutrition issue.
I would push back against that a bit and say it's more of a recovery issue, and nutrition helps with recovery. Like if you get a really good night's sleep versus you don't get a really good night's sleep, that's going to massively affect your recovery and your energy levels for your next workout. So like sleep, I think, is absolutely important. I think sleep would be weighted way more important than nutrition. Like I know people who have bad diets, but their recovery is really good because they can relax and all that jazz. And let's say when I say bad diet, I mean they're eating mostly processed foods, but they're not overeating too much. Because their recovery would be good, they have no problem pushing in the gym. Versus someone who is, let's say, after a night out on a Friday night and they're showing up on the Saturday and they're hungover, like they'll give what they got, but like they don't have much. Does that make sense?
I would push back on that again, right? So I would say literally the exact opposite of that. It's like, no, not in the example you give. Like if you're out for a night out and you're drinking, you show up the next day, your performance is dog shit. But I would say if I could pick between somebody getting 6 hours sleep and full profile of nutrition log, like hitting their macros on the ball, or I could take somebody who's getting 8 hours sleep and their nutrition's fucking dog shit, like give me the lack of sleep guy any single day. Because although it's not optimal and although you're not going to be your best self, it's like at least the tools are there. And again, in my experience of somebody who's chronically been without sleep and had the nutrition, I know right well performance growth is possible. But I also, as somebody who has got full night's sleep and had shit nutrition, I know I've gotten nowhere with poor nutrition and lots of sleep, as opposed to like slightly. Now, the routine for my sleep has always been, but the overall volume is not great, but the nutrition is dialed in. I've always gotten better results with that, and obviously we're going to get better results with both.
I would push back on bodies and say that intentity is the most important thing, and that these people, if they'd be considered a beginner to intermediate trainer, it's intensity. They're not pushing themselves hard enough in the gym. They're not lifting heavy enough. They're not squeezing out that extra rep or two. That would be the main.
Sorry to cut across, but my whole point is, like, let's say you have a gas tank that goes up to 100, and that's how intense you can go. Okay, and if your nutrition is dialed in and your sleep is dialed in, well, then you can crank that all the way up to 100. But let's say instead of getting 8 hours sleep, you only get 6 hours sleep. Well, now you're cut down to 80% of that intensity. And if your nutrition's bad, now you're cut down to 60% of that intensity. And now when you go to the gym, like, all you have to give, you can't give 100% of what you could have given if you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to go. Does that make sense? So I don't think
if you put in the inputs, because remember, all your benefit comes from recovery. If you have the inputs, let's say again you come in a full night's sleep, all the inputs are there, the intensity's there. If the nutrition's not there, nothing happens. Or again, very little happens. Or again, it's not repeatable. It's like, yeah, fair enough. All right, we'll recover well. The body's an amazing machine. It will super compensate and do its best. But then you keep doing that 4 times that week. It's like you're in a deficit now. It's like you're definitely not making progress.
I agree that you are what you eat, and I agree that the nutrition has a big factor in it. But I think it all comes together. It all comes together. If you have a good nutrition,
I do listen.
All right, let's
I
go.
agree, but sorry, I agree, but I feel like the main thing is intensity. Like if these, like it really depends. I think training age is the most important thing. So it's like, are these people beginners, intermediate, or advanced? If people are in the beginner category, like you can get results and not have not have your nutrition perfect. You can, in terms of kind of strength and build a muscle. Like obviously we're talking like what's optimal. You know, like also listen, optimal is perfect sleep, perfect nutrition, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, these people have got poor sleeping habits, not eating great. If they're showing up 3 or 4 days a week to the gym and to the best of their ability, they're pushing themselves, they will get significantly stronger, build a significant amount of muscle mass over a year time. So what I would say is more so it's just that that person that you mentioned, or that, you know, that the avatar of the person who's been showing up for a year, training consistently and isn't making any progress in terms of strength. If that person's an advanced athlete, it's like, okay, well, fair enough, because I think we need to remember that the natural state is atrophy, and we have, like, just to maintain requires effort, and without any effort, you will atrophy and get worse. So the fact you're not getting worse is a small win in itself. But if this person is more kind of towards the beginner intermediate, it's purely intensity. They're not putting enough weight in the bar. They're not pushing themselves hard enough in the gym.
Do you know why I disagree with that? Because in my experience is that when those individuals who haven't the nutrition do decide to up the intensity, they get injured. And that's been my experience in 70 or 80% of the cases. Like it's a sore elbow now. My back's starting to get dodged. It's like, and again, I know this from doing it myself. It's like, what makes those muscles feel like they're wrapped up and doubled down and tight and solid and reliable is the nutrition. Because again, it's like, I completely agree. It's like when you have a novice, it's like literally just basic strength training. It's about activation. And once you pass that initial point of activation, it's like, now we actually have to grow here. And if you want to grow, I would be super hard pushed to, like, and super cautious of any novice, like, again, thinking that if I don't get my nutrition optimal, that I'll make no progress. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is, like, you know, like, if you're not even growing, like, if you're not increasing your protein, like, if it's not like at least, you know, a gram per pound per half pound of body weight, you know, it's like, let's say you're 70 kilos. It's like, if you're not even getting 100 grams of protein in per day consistently, you know, it's like, realistically, like, it's like, once you pass those initial 2-3 months, it's like you're just going to now run in circles. And again, as you said, baseline, not atrophy, but it's like that's not realistically what most people want. And if you do up the intensity, you're going to find that you're running into all kinds of problems. A little twinge here, or a little thing there. It's like, how the body reshapes itself is through damage and then repair. And it's like, and that damage is just going to keep occurring, minus the repair, if your nutrition is not dialed in. And again, like Chris said, and you said when you were training, if the sleep isn't there, it's like, good luck having the energy levels to train at an intense level. You won't feel confident to push, and you won't feel like you've got the energy to push. And it's like, and again, I know myself from training, it's like, when you train really hard, you could train 4 sections in a row, and in that 5th section, you feel like absolute dead. It's like, you just don't have it in yet. And there's some people, and kind of that's their baseline, because they're not recovering properly, but they keep showing up and they keep showing up. And it's like, well, how do we optimize your recovery? Nutrition and sleep and water and, you know, mindfulness and getting out for walks and stuff like that. But the big thing for me, again, I can't stress this enough, is protein. It's like, it really needs to be protein. Like, because again, if you're not supplementing all your protein from whey, you're getting it from chicken, and you're getting it from fish, and you're getting it from eggs. It's like, there's so much in that is important for recovery from those whole foods that you're getting that are going to help you recover. It's like, that is so essential for your physical development, that if you are just kind of, again, like, because I know that I did it, you know, eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast, having pot noodles and, you know, sausages and noodles, and I think I said noodles already, sausages and fish fingers and chicken fucking dippers. It's like, there is nothing substantial in that. Like, you need fruit and veg and meat. It's like, you need fruit.
I think I know I missed the last little segment, but I think the argument that there's an argument like 2 different things. I think Stephen is basically saying the most important factor when it comes to changing your body is intensity. And I think we both already know, like we all agree on that point. But I also think that
and frequency
and frequency, yeah. But like the difference between someone who do you think that if you have really poor sleep and you're tired, do you think that affects your capacity to work out intensely?
100%. 100%. But my kind of point is more so because I'm kind of sticking on Brandon's example of the person who's been training for a year. I'm saying unless that person is an advanced lifter that has been training for 12 to 18 months consistently, the reason they're not making progress is because they've been lifting relatively the same weight week in, week out for 6 to 12 months. No,
I agree.
Regardless of unless their sleep is chronically bad, unless their nutrition is chronically poor.
What if, right? What if
that's the best way to approach someone like that?
Hold on. What if every time they go to up the intensity, they feel a tweak? Any ideas as to why that is?
It's not because they're not getting enough protein.
It might not be protein. It might be it might be mobility, but it could also there's loads of different ways to increase intensity. There's loads. It doesn't have to be more weight. It can be more reps. Exactly, yeah. It can be more time under tension.
Hold the phone. We don't think it's protein.
Huh?
No. You don't think it's protein. It's
it's weight there. Whoa. I'm not saying it's not protein. I'm not saying it's not protein. But if someone feels a tweak, it's not necessarily you can't just say lack of protein. You can't just say it could be because they have a fucking bulging disc. It could be because they have a torn hamstring. It could be because their hip clicks a certain way. It could be because
I'm saying
your mechanics are off.
Why have you not upped your intensity in the bicep curl? Oh, my elbow. Why have you not upped your intensity in your overhead press? Oh, my shoulder. Why have you not upped your intensity in your deadlift? Oh, my back. Why have you not upped your intensity in your squat? Oh, my knee. It's this is a real conversation with multiple real people I have because they're afraid to push because the body is not recovering optimally. It's not doubling down. It's not tightening up. It's not layering upon. And again, what would the reason for that be?
Again, I would say sleep. I would say sleep is more important than protein.
I disagree. This is
because these things that you're referring to are I would say related to inflammation, and sleep is going to be more effective rather than taking, let's say, just protein shakes.
Because again, remember, it's not just protein shakes. Protein shakes are a great food, but it's about Greek yogurt, egg whites, meat, chicken, fish. It's there's so much essential amino acids in these foods and micronutrients in these foods that it's they all play a huge role in recovery. And again, if you what is inflammation? Inflammation is just damage. Your body should be good at recovering from inflammation. Yes, obviously sleep is key. How many people do you know? Again, clients it's sleep. I don't have a client that struggles with sleep. I've got clients that sleep too much. Most people are getting 7 hours. 7 hours. Most people are good with 7 hours.
No, I think most people.
I think.
But I think you're wrong. I think most people aren't getting 7 hours. I feel like
I think people are chronically overslept. Anyone working kids, young kids especially, are underslept. Well, I would say an average of maybe 5 to 6 hours a week, and I think that's probably the reason that they're just never optimally recovering. As it even says in the intro there, from Paul Check, if people had any idea how powerful sleep was to heal from anything, that would be where I would, in terms of a period, say a little pyramid of priorities, I would put sleep.
Well, remember, sleep would still be at the top of my priority list because I just don't think any underslept human being is going to be able to perform any kind of habit. You're just going to be the most reactive version of themselves. So I still do think I agree with it. It's number one, but I would have assumed it's not most people's problem. Again, in my experience, when I talk to people, most people's issue is nutrition. And again, now that you said that, I would love to do a poll in the members group. Let's figure out how much are people sleeping. That would be a good idea. Be interesting.
Let's do it.
I feel we also do have a lot of data from clients that have connected their Garmin, the Fitbit, their Apple Watch to the app. Yeah. And again, it's not uncommon to see 5 hours as the kind of the typical amount of
as the average
consultations.
I would be shocked that was the case. What are these people doing? Get to bed.
Because staying up late, well, it's more. I think it's a lot to do with kids, and then the only time they have for themselves to feel like they can kind of relax, put their feet up, maybe spend an hour with their partner is 11, 12 o'clock. But the only time that they can go to the gym is 6 a.m. So just to kind of burn the candle at both ends. What we're kind of referring to, especially protein targets and stuff, the typical amount of protein that the average person get, we're talking in the range of 60 to 80 grams a day.
Like,
Which, to be fair, like we're being relative to, like, you know, what does an athlete need? What does, you know, a bodybuilder need? You know, like we're talking about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Like the average Joe training 3 hours a week, like, you know, will still get results. Like, not optimal, but they'll still get results from 60 to 80 grams.
Most of our clients are training 5 times a week,
but for 40 minutes.
Yeah, but again,
the total training volume is, you know, isn't extremely high. What kind of our kind of program is what I would consider to be kind of more lifestyle based, rather than, you know, trying to get people in the gym like, oh yeah, like what, we want to get the best possible results ever. So again, well, I need to see you 5 days a week, at least 90 minutes a time. But it's like, that's just not sustainable for people. People just couldn't train. For people that just literally couldn't fit 90 minutes plus a shower into their day. So that's kind of why we're trying to make it more effective and efficient. And again, because it's the routine, it's the intensity and the frequency. If you're going to show up, can you show up 3 or 4 days a week? And when you get in, just do your absolute best. And then can you do that, I said, 3-4 days a week? But when it comes to the training, that's the most important thing.
This is one of the things that I feel like is one of the reasons, back kind of swinging it back to why most people kind of fail, you know, New Year's resolutions, because you shouldn't have to have a New Year's resolution every year. And so I feel like if we're talking to, you know, New Year, New Me kind of people, I feel like we're talking to absolute novices. Because I feel like if you are at a stage where you're kind of like looking after yourself and you have good habits, it's like, it's not necessarily about, oh, here's a brand new fresh start. It's like, unless this is your brand new fresh start, it's like it should be a continuation process of, you know, what you're already doing. And like for me, again, like as you said, like, you know, most people aren't athletes. It's like your next level is starting, like, when are you going to start treating yourself like an athlete? Like, why would you not be an athlete? Why could you not be an athlete? It's like, until that's kind of the paradigm that you start seeing yourself, like, fair enough, right, you're obese now, let's get the weight off you. That's stage 1. You know, you're overweight, let's get you a healthy weight. Stage 2 is like, now we need to start you along your athletic journey. Maybe you want to be a powerlifter, maybe you want to be a swimmer, maybe you want to be a jogger, maybe you want to be, you know, a power walker, whatever your kind of thing is. But it's like, once we kind of start shifting the frame as to becoming an athlete, we kind of up the standard a little bit. And that's, again, now the protein target is after going up, and, you know, now the sleep requirement is after going up. And this is kind of how we scale it. Most people struggle with the absolute basics. It's like, well, we kind of got to cover the basics first. And yeah, fair enough, maybe it's not 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body, maybe it's 0.7, you know, which again is fair enough. But everything should be kind of on a spectrum. It's like, we should, as you said, it's like, we're like, you have to fight hard just to stay in the same place. Hopefully that's not your goal. You know, hopefully your goal is growth. So it should be always like, kind of like, you know, are we moving this needle up? Are you training more intensely? Are you eating more protein? Are you trying to get more sleep? Are you drinking more water? It's like, that's kind of, you know, the philosophy that I would be wanting for every single one of the clients here.
I think, based on your perspective there, we should like give an example of a beginner, then an intermediate, and then an advanced client. What's a beginner client to you?
So a beginner client would be kind of somebody like, let's talk level method. You know, it's like you're white or yellow, and you struggle with basic nutrition tasks. Like if I asked you to track your food, that you're not able to track your food consistently because of, you know, things like, you know,
I'd push back and say that's more of an intermediate thing.
It depends, because it all depends how many points are we waiting for nutrition, how many points are we waiting for lifestyle, how many points are we waiting for exercise. You could be, you know, a beginner in nutrition and be an advanced trainer, let's say. True. And kind of vice versa. But I feel like, as Brian said, the level method is probably one of the better ways to look at it. I always kind of say to people, like, white is novice, yellow is beginner, orange is good, blue is very good, and then ending after blue, then you're kind of in athlete territory. I
say white is a novice. I say yellow is you know, as you said, a beginner. Orange is what I call the keep fitters. So orange is like you are a beast in a circuit class, right? Yeah. Like if you go to a circuit training, like, if you're orange and I pull you up into any circuit class in the country, you're going to do pretty well. And then
I say orange are probably fitter than most of your friends.
Yeah. And then blue is where I start starting addressing people as athletes. And it's like, blue, you're an athlete now. It's like, and in orange, it's like orange, like we're starting to approach your like athletic performance. So it's like, I hope you're already, if you're orange, starting to view yourself as an athlete. If not, that transition period should be kind of, you know, turning in your head. But blue, if you want to start doing the blue stuff, it's like, you really should be looking at yourself as an athlete. We're starting to do box jumps at blue. It's like, you know, we're starting to hang power cleans, or you've already done X amount of hang power cleans at Blue, you know, so burpees, you know, it's like these are tough stuff. Double unders, like these are very difficult tasks, and if you're getting to that stage, it's like you'd want to start viewing yourself as an athlete. And for me, you know, unless you are 50 plus and just starting, it's like, you know, Blue should be on the cards for every single member that we have, because again, like fair enough, like if you're 50 and you're just starting, it's like Orange would be phenomenal, you know, like absolutely phenomenal. Never mind Blue, but it's like if you've already got. Because actually, to your point, Steve, to what you said earlier on, you know, it's like when we talk about like what is a beginner, it's like you can't really talk about it in terms of years, can you? Because like, you know, as you said, it's about training age. Like you could be fat around the gym for 6 years and you haven't necessarily progressed. Would you agree?
Yeah, and fair enough. And from a lifestyle perspective, maybe you're more advanced because you've been maintaining this routine for a long time. But your training age, not like your training. Like the training age is like how long have you stuck to a program consistently and applied the principle of progressive overload? Like, you know, like, and you have to do that. You know, less than 6 months you're beginner, 6 to 18 months you're intermediate, 18 months more I'd consider you kind of you're touching advanced. You're going to kind of start to reach the upper limit of your say your genetic potential. Let's say in that kind of time frame.
My question was like holistically in terms of training and nutrition and recovery, like all of that together, what would you classify as a beginner, intermediate, and advanced? And like, what are the main characteristics of a beginner in that thing when it comes to nutrition, training, and recovery? For intermediate, what are the main characteristics for nutrition, training, and recovery? And then for advanced?
I feel like I kind of started into that, and I feel like where we ended up on that one was that it's actually very hard to combine the three. Am I wrong?
No, it's just I know it's hard to combine them. Let's do it anyway. Let's combine them. Right.
Well, again, I would
beginner in nutrition, beginner in training, beginner in recovery.
Yeah, so this is the definition given by PN for in terms of nutrition. It's like you should be able to follow basic instructions given by your coach, which is kind of why I said tracking food on MyFitnessPal is like, you know, it's like if you're like now again with guided supervision, it's like you should be able to be supervised and follow a diet plan. That if you have a check-in once a week, that you know if your coach is checking in on you, that you follow the task given clear and simple instructions, you know.
So the pushback that I was giving you on that is that someone who's an absolute beginner, like someone who's able to follow a nutrition plan on MyFitnessPal and can do it consistently and reliably and stay within the crowd, I think that's like an intermediate to advanced characteristic rather than a beginner characteristic.
What if then we could make it easier and just say, what about 60% of the time they could track?
Yeah. Well, I would say more so like zero. Beginner would be 0 to 50% of the time, where to do it once or twice, they get their wee epiphanies from the information gleaned from tracking their own food, but then they can't, like, it's not a priority for them. They don't really care, so they don't really put in the effort to consistently do it, and because they have all these other distractions that are in their life. So I'd say beginner with food is I would say beginner the things it was like
maintaining 1 to 3 simple nutrition habits.
Yeah, they're trying to eat better. They're trying to maybe drink more water. They're making an effort to get some steps in, and they're showing up to work out 1 to 3 times a week. And they're like, oh, this is good. And then the intermediate, I would say, is someone when it comes to training, they're starting to push for goals that they've set. So that maybe like they can only do 4 push-ups, and they're like, no, I want to do 10. I really want to do 10 push-ups. And then it's like, and I want to deadlift this much. But their numbers might not be anything dramatic or anything like that. And then, but the nutrition is like, oh, I'm making sure I'm getting my shake in after my workout. But I'm still going out with my friends on the weekend. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that. Like they're still doing some bad habits, but everything is like, let's say, aligned to like optimizing the performance a little bit, but not like maximally. And then the advanced would be. Go on.
Right. Based on this conversation, I feel like the majority of what I said at the start of this conversation was geared towards intermediates. Then, if that's what you're talking about.
I agree. And I think but I think the intermediate is someone who's trying to make a bit of push, and then the level 3 is like that's what it's all about. That it's like their whole life is built around getting these numbers. They're optimizing their sleep. They're making sure they're up. They're having their like pre-workout snack to make sure their glycogen stores are topped up. They're having their post-workout shake and then their post-workout meal, and they have their Tupperware in with them for their lunch, and they have like everything is in a row. And they're like no, I can't go out this weekend. I've got a workout on Monday, and it's a deadlift workout, and I'm making sure I'm hitting that PB. So sorry, they're making all these different stuff. Like level 3 is like everything is secondary to the goals that they set, whereas like level 2 is like they're setting goals, but like obviously they want to live their life and all that jazz. And then level 1 is like they can't do basic things, and they're struggling with these habits, and they're struggling with with getting their steps and they're struggling with even getting a post-workout protein shake and they're struggling with consistency showing up to the gym.
Yeah.
What and based on say this podcast, sorry, Brent, is like say geared towards people that are starting New Year's resolutions, which would be say novice kind of to beginner type clients. What do you feel like is the best advice you could give them going forward to kind of wrap this up?
I would
Chris,
say.
This one's to you.
Oh.
So that would be Chris first. Sorry.
Oh, for me, the best advice, Joe. Pick something challenging enough that will motivate you, but not so challenging that you're like it seems impossible. And I think going for a walk first thing in the morning might be a good shout for that. That might be a really easy starting point. And then committing to getting something like this and drinking that every single day. I think those are really, really good steps. And then I'd say find somewhere to work out and or even just show up to the gym every day without a plan and just go on the treadmill for 5 minutes. Make sure that you just show up, even if you're not doing it, to just show up and get something done to where it's not a big deal to show up anymore. Because a lot of people they like pedestalize going to the gym as in like they have to go and they have to lift all these weights and all this sort of stuff, and that puts them off actually doing it. So start small, but make sure that it's something that you can be proud of yourself after doing. If that makes sense. Because if you're like, oh, it was easy, it was too easy, or it was nothing, well then you're not going to have that like little ego boost or the positive reinforcement for yourself.
My advice would be consistency. Well, yeah, sorry, is it my turn?
Yes.
What would you add to that? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Mine would be consistency over greatness, and so here's where you get your ego boost: is don't rely on a big weighted effort. Get your boost from consistency. It's like start thinking about days in a row. Start thinking about I've done something small, but I've done it for 6 or 7 days. I've done it for 8 or 9 days, and so it's like once you kind of start getting that momentum behind you, I can tell you 100%. As soon as people who know you start to notice, that's kind of a very identity forming kind of period. Is like once you can hold it to where people are starting to kind of go, oh, Chase, what are you doing? Oh, you're going out for that walk again, are you? Oh, there's Mr. Shake for lunch. Oh, never misses a protein shake, or and stuff like that. It's like when you kind of start getting little kind of little kind of identity shifting patterns, people start noticing because you have that much momentum behind you. And even if it's only small actions, like the consistency of those small things. And again, second to that is there is no such thing as a small effort. And so again, as soon as you kind of start writing off little behaviors, even though they're a crucial part of the process, you'll just stop doing them because you just don't see them as important. It's like put the most weight on very little actions and give yourself massive amounts of praise and, be proud of those little things, because over the course of the year, in my experience, that's been the things that are going to shift, the tide for you greatly. Like if you want to do a push-up, it's like just doing 10 practice push-ups every day at your counter. Is like, I know it only seems small, but it's like realistically when you're at the start, there is no other way to do it. It's like you have to start at grassroots and be proud of your grassroots.
Excellent. Cool. And then I would just kind of say to wrap it up then is anybody that is listening and has kind of struggled or maybe things haven't went to plan, I would say be a little and realize that you're only successful as your experience level allows for, or your education, your knowledge, your ability to kind of apply all of that. So if you fail, as long as you look back and take the lessons and then try and apply them lessons going forward, you're bringing experience into the next attempt. So you probably just bit off more than you could chew, because as Brandon kind of mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, people that kind of want to go from zero to hero. But I said you probably haven't worked your way through the levels just yet. You probably haven't read enough books. You probably don't have enough experience. You probably, just haven't done enough work just yet. So take the good and the bad, take whatever lessons and apply them then going forward. And I said, if you need any help or support, I said, you can feel free to message myself, Chris, or Brandon, whether you're a client or not. We're always kind of happy to help people. And if you've got any topics that you feel like would help you on the journey, you need a little bit more specific advice on any part of it, I said we've got loads of free tools and resources that we can send you with to do all that. So would anyone like to add anything then before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I heard a very cool quote. I think I heard Kevin Hart talking, and he was saying, to work day in, day out and kind of feel like you're getting stuck in the same place, that's a real grind. It's kind of like, sometimes, as you said, you've tried and you've failed, and objectively people would know, you know, or people would think that you didn't get anywhere, but you know in your heart and your journey that you're trying your best and that you're keep giving these attempts. And objectively, again, it looks like you're not getting anywhere, but that's the grind. It's like if you generally are in your heart of hearts giving 110% effort and it feels like you're not going anywhere, but you know that this is just another attempt and you keep going back to scratch and you keep going back to scratch and you keep going back to scratch. It's like that is the grind. And most people will just, they'll give up after maybe 3 or 4 attempts. So, you know, keep going back to scratch, keep trying this. You know, there's a massive amount of growth that's going to take place in that. You're just kind of waiting for it to take off.
Chris, and the lad?
Anything to add? The only thing that was popping into my head was something like the David Goggins mentality as well. Like, they're slow and steady wins the race, and that's the thing that should work for most people. But for some people, if they want to drastically overhaul their life, it is possible to snap, have everything switch, and then all of a sudden you just start doing the hard work and you start doing everything all at once. The risk to that is burnout. You might burn yourself out and lose energy, lose motivation, all that sort of stuff. But you'll see with the massive effort that you might make based on a decision of like an epiphany of motivation, whatever it is, where, you know, it's like someone who finally decides to quit smoking, or someone who is like, enough is enough. You know, this is it. I'm done with this sort of lifestyle knowledge. I was like, you can make a massive change with massive effort, and to start with the small stuff but do it excellently is a great way to do it. So like going for a run every day, whatever it is, or try like and pushing through it and work, like doing that massive overhaul in one day and you commit to it, I think can be really valuable as well, but only for a certain kind of person.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, because people change. When people change, they change in an instant. You change in a moment. Like when people really make the change, it happens in a heartbeat. And what I would just to kind of wrap it up, because I generally have to go. I got a call now. But to what you said, Brandon, if you feel like in your heart of hearts that you are genuinely doing your best and you're not getting the results, you really need to seek external feedback. Because if you're genuinely giving your 100% best effort and you're not moving significantly in the direction that you want to go, you are making a strategic error in terms of where you're putting your energy. And somebody with a little more experience in that field could really help you redirect that energy and that motivation, that passion a little bit better. Because I feel like most of us, when we're unsuccessful, is because we know we didn't give it our all, and that's kind of why we failed. Because most things we know, like health and fitness, is not complicated. You know, if you just ask yourself, will this meal move me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? That's pretty much everything you need to know about nutrition, and it's already in there in your basic operating system. So it's not complicated. It's that we let ourselves down. So I'm gonna have to leave it there, guys. You want to kind of check in now, reach out to us on Instagram, www.fightandfinish.com, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.